Hey guys, Bobby DeMuro here with BaseballCensus.com. Out at the Arizona Fall League, I'm standing next to Art Warren, right-handed pitcher with the Seattle Mariners here at the Peoria Sports Complex. His home complex. You're on the road side, actually. You're on the Padres side here for AFL. First things first, we've talked a lot to you this year, and we'll link everything up, obviously, at the website. If you haven't read anything about him yet, get reading and then come back and maybe watch the video. If you have, first things first with you, AFL, sort of a victory lap. I know there's still a lot of stuff to work on. How do you see the fall season playing out for you personally?
It's more of a learning experience, that's for sure. Getting to know how to get the better hitters out that prepares me for next year, like heading into AA or AAA. I think, getting experience here is going to definitely carry over in next year. And then also, like, learning from the guys who I'm playing with as well. Just maybe routines or pitch grips, as like we're about to talk about, or just experience anything they have in general. Like, I'm all ears. I'm trying to just pick up as much information as I can from playing with and against these guys.
I was going to say, it's something a lot of people talk about. We spoke to Justice Sheffield, the Yankees pitcher. He was injured for part of the year, and he's talking about, I got to get my innings in. I want to, I have a couple things I want to work on. With a guy like you who had a full season, a guy like Matthew Festa who had a full season or whatever, right. I feel like you almost want to see, do I match up? How do I match up against these best prospects? I know you see guys on Twitter. I know you see guys getting publicity. How have you been able to come out here? And I guess, how do you feel against guys who are going to be major leaguers 2 years from now?
When I first found out I was coming out here to the Fall League, that was my biggest question: is how's my stuff going to play? Coming from the Cal League, yeah, those guys are good hitters, but I wanted to know how my stuff played against AA and AAA guys. So that was the biggest question for me. And so far, having 4 outings here, it's gone well. I think that my stuff can play, at this level and higher. So it gives me a little bit of confidence, like I just talked about earlier, about heading into next year as well. So I think that's what I'm taking away is hey, I can hang with these guys.
When we're talking about stuff, if you've never seen him pitch, we're talking about mid to upper 90s fastball, curveball, and a slider. But as we get into pitch grips, I kind of want to go through what your pitch grips are, because you're a little unique for a reliever. Right. You throw a lot of pitches. A lot of guys are just fastball, slider, fastball, curveball. You're both.
Right.
Before we get into the grips, why? Why did you keep the curve from last year when you were a starter? Why did you add the slider? Why not drop down and perfect 2 pitches? I mean, you got 3 that are usable. Why keep that deep of an arsenal?
I just always felt that it'll allow me to play better. I mean, it'll open up my game as I get higher in the levels. Like, if I need to turn the lineup over a couple times, I have 3 or 4 pitches that can do it. Plus, I've always been the kind of pitcher that's had the off speed. I pride myself in my off speed. I work hard on it. So I don't want to give it up, man. I think there's so much value in a guy who has 3 or 4 pitches that he can throw for strikes, and above or above average pitches, which I feel like I have. So that's why. That's my arsenal. That's who I am. I do have a good fastball, but I really take pride, like I said, in my off-speed pitches. I think that's what's going to help me play. Well,
and I wonder too. You obviously came from a starter background last year. Weren't throwing quite this hard last year,
right?
But you look at some of the guys in the major leagues. I know there's a ton of 8th inning guys, a ton of 9th inning guys, specialists. There's also these guys. Andrew Miller is one in Cleveland, and anybody in the playoffs. If you're a relief pitcher and they need you, you might have to go 2 or 3 or 4 innings, and maybe the mold of how relief pitchers get used is changing.
Right.
Do you feel like you have the arsenal to say, hey, if I need to come in the 6th in a close game, let me face 10, 12 batters, I got enough where I can hold something back and show it to him the second time through?
Absolutely. And, the way you look at it is, if I were to go up to the big leagues next year, am I going to be the closer right away? Probably not.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I kept in mind is by keeping all these pitches here, I'm able to come in the 6th or 7th inning when most likely I would be going in, making my debut, or if I'm up in big leagues for a little bit, that's when I'm coming in as early on to see how I do against guys, and so yeah, I think that if I do head in the 6th inning, I can pitch in the 6th and 7th. I can go multiple innings with spinning breaking balls in there for strikes and offering my stuff.
We're talking about a lot, so I guess we should start showing it. Let's start with fastball. Fastball, for those of you at home, is 94, 95, 97. I've seen him touch 99. I know you believe you have more velocity in you, so maybe next year he'll be sitting 100. And we'll say we knew you when.
Yeah.
Let's start 4-seam, 2-seam. Kind of where are you at fastball grip?
Yeah, my 4-seam grip is right here.
And horseshoes off the inside.
Yeah, off the inside. I like to try to. It doesn't really matter, honestly. I like to keep my fingers together. That's the biggest thing for me. Is I don't like to have a wide grip. For me, I just feel like I'm able to get more rotation on the baseball with just my 2 fingers placed together on the ball.
And you're not doing anything special. You're just
it's just
grip and rip.
Yeah, just grip and rip it, and then I tuck my thumb. That's really the thing that I do with my thumb.
A lot of things I hear from guys, they hold the ball real loose. They try to be real loose. Are you like that? Do you feel yourself tensing up and slowing down?
No, I don't try to choke it. I just grab it. It's nice and comfortable. I like to spin the ball behind me and just grab it. So it's nothing like where I'm choking it. I like to have a little gap in between my pointer finger and my thumb here. So that's really just my four seam grip.
Any two seam. I mean, I know you got the velocity to live on four seam.
I play with it a little bit, and it's just the same thing. I go in between,
just straight across.
Between the seams, yeah, and just straight across. I've played with the one seam a lot, which would be just right here. You basically take your pointer finger and you run it right across the seam here. Place your middle finger, place your pointer right next to it, and you just rip off this one seam here. And so a lot of guys are starting to go with that. It's like the Zach Britton one-seamer.
Have you noticed any movement or any life on that?
Yeah, there is a lot. I mean, like Blake Trinan is getting a lot of attention from his one-seam, and a lot of guys are trying to emulate that. So I'm trying to play with it a little bit, maybe next year. But right now, I'm just sticking with just the four-seam.
Is it tempting when you touch 99? Is it tempting to not just, hey, I want to blow everybody away? I don't necessarily need that yet.
Exactly. That's kind of what I've been going with right now. It's like my four-seam's good. It's got life on it. It's playing. Let's just stick with that. Let's stick with four pitches. And then maybe, you know, the higher I go, I'll develop a two-seam to run in on lefties.
I was going to say, and I was behind the plate in Scottsdale, last week when you threw in Scottsdale. Yeah. We got a video up. We'll put that in the post, too. You can see you still have arm side action on the four-seam. Yeah. Even if you miss your spot, you have a margin of error because it's moving.
Right. I think my arm slot creates that natural run. So really, I've always said that my four-seam runs more than my two-seam. Yeah. So that's just another reason why I just like to stick with the four-seam.
Not a big pitch out of the bullpen, at least not for you, but changeup, are you still using it, throwing it at all?
Absolutely. I will keep my changeup my entire career. I believe heavily in throwing that to lefties. And so Justin Hancock, he was here with the Padres. He got traded to the Cubs recently. He's the one who taught me my changeup back in high school, where you basically grip it real tight and small here, the circle change, right across the logo here, and then I like to spread my fingers out across the baseball, and really the grip does the work for you. Yeah. So you just grip it as so, and you throw it like a fastball, same arm speed, and the grip here will actually slow the baseball down and do the work for you.
A lot of what we do on this site, obviously, is, you know, fans of teams will want to learn about their prospects, but I realize this is actually a good opportunity. If you're a high school kid or a JUCO kid, you know, listen to a professional baseball player talk about pitching. How much do you trust that changeup grip? How tempting is it to want to make something happen with it when you just really have to go back and realize, I don't have to do anything. There's more fingers on the ball. It's going to slow down.
Right. I think that's when you find yourself in trouble, when you're trying to make the pitch do way too much. Yeah. If you trust you got to trust the grip. You got to throw it like a fastball, and you got to believe that the action will create itself with the changeup grip. It's really just, it's to disrupt timing. That's all it is. You know, you're not trying to make a changeup move 12 feet. You know, so you just try to grip it and throw it, miss a barrel by 3 or 4 inches. Yeah. And that's the concept of the changeup.
A ground ball beside a center line drive.
Yeah, exactly.
What percentage of the time are you going to throw that pitch? 2%, 10%? I mean, a lefty comes up. How likely is it that he sees that pitch?
Very likely. If a lefty comes up, it's very likely. I like to go fastball and change this with the lefty.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like to. And then, you know, there's also the concept where you run the slider in and then change up away, where you're changing directions with them and forcing him up. You know, just changing eye level and mixing speeds. That's my bread and butter.
When you throw mid-90s with 4 pitches, you got a lot to play with. The 2 pitches that are obviously going to get a lot of notice, the curveball and the slider. Right. Let's start with the curve. The slider I know is new for you. Yes. The curveball used a holdover from last year. Right. How are you holding it? What's the magic with this?
So I go inside of the horseshoe here. I like to take my fingers again and together, and I like to get right down and in there. And so basically you take your thumb or your middle finger and you place it on the China logo there, and then you rest your pointer finger and grip it, and then I just place my thumb on the inside part of the seam down here. And I don't like, some guys like to flick with their thumb. Like if you have really good control and you can flick it, I don't like to do that. I just like to think pulling down with these 2 fingers like a lampshade. You're just ripping down on a lampshade. So I take my 2 fingers here, and all the pressure's on the middle finger here, and you just think rip down on it.
And you could almost, I mean, you just did it when you were talking about it, but you could almost put your index finger up because you're putting no pressure on it.
Exactly. There's no pressure on it. So really you could just throw, like Adam Wainwright used to throw this back in the day, where you just, your pointer finger hangs out and you just rip it. So that's what I like to do. I just rest it here right behind the middle finger and think ripping it down.
And his is a power curve. It's like 11-5, 12-6, but it's hard. It is not a Barry Zito kind of big looper. Tell me, because I think a lot of misconception people have about the curveball is you got to feel it, you got to spin it, you got to kind of throw it up there. You do that, you're going to get a very loopy curveball. Right. Is this the hardest pitch you throw? I mean, your arm speed almost has to be the fastest on this pitch, faster than the fastball.
Yeah, it is. We've done like the stats, the RPMs, and all that. My curveball is my highest spin rated pitch. Yeah. It's so it's the pitch that's going to get me to the big leagues, I think. Which is funny, you know. talking about me being a guy throws hard. I told you I'm an off-speed kind of guy.
Well, this thing, everybody has the velocity now. You need to have it,
exactly,
but you got to have something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that if you just have the same kind of arm speed and throw it off that fastball plane, you're going to get swings and misses, because ideally you want, your fastball coming in and you want your curveball coming in, and then boom, drops off the table. So I like to try to throw with that fastball mentality to try to keep it on that same plane as long as possible.
Is that a hard pitch to feel? It's one thing for a starter, you get 3, 4, 5 innings to feel it out. Out of the bullpen, 2 guys on, 1-run game, you got to throw a curveball pitch 1.
Right.
Is that a challenge to feel that pitch this year out of the bullpen?
I think early on in the year it was. But the more, we played throughout the year, and the more I got into a routine that molded around me, I started to spin my stuff more and more every day.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like. So as a starter, you're right. Last year I had a rotation, or I was on a rotation where I had a routine where I was throwing a side every third day, It's like here out of the pen, you don't know when you're going in, and you want to make sure you have all your stuff right then and there. Yeah. So I work on my stuff daily, and there's guys that talk to Festa and I who are constantly, we're always working on our craft. They're like, why you guys throw so much? And it's like me personally, it's a mental thing. Like, I need to make sure I'm ready to go when I go into the game. So I need to make sure I'm working on my craft that day. So when I go in mentally, I know, okay, I have it. And then boom, I'm
glad you brought that up, because I was going to say it's 11 a.m. right now. You are not going to throw today. You're not scheduled to throw today.
Right.
So if you come to the game at 12:35, you'll say, well, the reliever, he's got the day off. He's hanging out.
Right.
At 9 a.m., I saw him out on the field. You and Festa are throwing. You're spinning curveballs. You're spinning changeups.
Yes.
You guys are making each other crazy because everything's so hard and breaks. So it's impossible to catch each other. How valuable is that time? Even just screwing around with stuff. Maybe you screw around with a splitter and you never actually bring it out.
Right.
But just kind of learning out and feeling out things.
It's huge. I mean, it's imperative for us. I mean, a hitter can go in and swing for hours.
Yeah.
Pitcher, you only have 15 minutes because you can't just throw all day long.
Yeah.
So you got to really work wisely, and we usually take that time and we hone in on everything, man. We're very diligent with it. We take it very serious, and that's something that Woody had talked to us about earlier in the year. Our coach, Pete Woodworth, said, take this time. You guys can't go swing for an hour. You guys have 15 minutes to throw in program. Get your work in. And it's like, cool. So I've really started to take that to the next step. And like right now, I'm already looking forward to tomorrow. Like, hey, am I going to get my slider a little bit more extended, or curveball? So I really look forward to each day trying to get better at my craft.
I'm sure if we asked Festa, he does not look forward to catching you, and vice versa. Last thing, let's talk about the slider a little bit. Okay. New pitch for you this year. Right. I guess first things first, why did you feel like you needed to add it?
Well, my pitching coordinator talked to me about including a slider to help try to strike more guys out. I'm not a very big strikeout guy. So, yeah, we just worked on coming up with the slider to try to miss more bats. And I had a slider in college, but after Tommy John, I kind of banged it and went more to a curveball.
Yeah.
So we picked it back up. So my grip that I'm going with is right down here underneath the horseshoe. Again, you kind of want to typically you want to make sure that the curveball and the slider grips are different.
Yeah.
You never really would kind of want to go curveball here and then slider up here. It's just they run into each other.
Is it because hitters are going to see a different spin?
No, it's just more of like for you personally. Like if I'm throwing my curveball here and I'm mixing, I'm going down and I get to here, it's too close to one another. You want to have some variety around the baseball. So I usually go on the other side here, and it's just right along the bottom of the seam here. I think almost like I'm getting ready to throw a power cutter, and that's just more of the mindset too. When I throw it like a fastball. This is not a feel pitch.
Yeah.
It's a grip and rip kind of pitch.
I was going to ask you this. So it's almost, it's you take the two-seamer and you rotate almost
Absolutely.
across the two-seamer, and you're just coming up the horseshoe from there.
Exactly. So you just going through here and rotate it up, and you're ready.
And that's pretty much a slider. Yeah. And I was going to ask you about that because a lot of people talk about if you have a box in front of you, the slider cuts diagonally across the box.
Right.
That's not you. You're just letting the grip do the work here and throwing the heck out of it.
Exactly. And sometimes I'll play with it, whether if it's not breaking as much, if it's more like a cutter, I'll move up the seam a little bit more just to get a little bit more of the seam for a grip and get a little bit more depth to it.
There you go. That's a deep arsenal for a reliever.
Yeah.
Last thing, let me ask you one more thing about it, because actually I think a lot of people, if you watch this thing, you get value out of it. The next question is, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, when do these kids start throwing balls like this? Because everybody says don't throw a curveball until this age, that age. I mean, with your past experience, when did you start throwing it, and kind of what do you recommend, I guess? And he's not a doctor.
Right.
But
I would
as a pitcher.
I would recommend waiting. I work with some guys back home, and I tell them to wait until they're 13 or 14 to start spinning stuff. I really believe you can pitch and learn how to pitch at 12 and under off the fastball and changeup. I mean, changeup is your best off-speed pitch. So I think you should try to stay away as long as possible. That's just my own personal belief. And obviously I'm biased to having Tommy John. I don't know what the reason was. Maybe I threw too many off-speed pitches at a young age. You just never know. But that's kind of my 2 cents on it. You can always learn a slider and a curveball down the road, you know. So
there, your development has been remarkable in a year's time. What comes a year from now? I mean, are you going to be throwing? Let's not to get cocky, but are you going to be throwing 101 miles an hour?
That's my goal, really. I'd like to work out a lot, and I think, you know, if I just keep working out and keep getting stronger and taking care of my body properly, doing the right kind of correct baseball lifts, that, I mean, where's the ceiling at? You know, like, I don't want everyone just want to say I want to cap it at 100.
Yeah.
I want to, you know, I want to say I can throw 110 miles an hour. Of course, you always want to keep working towards something, but who knows, man? Whatever the Lord blesses me with, I'll take it. You know.
It just hits me. We should come back later, do a nutrition video with you and a lifting video, because I feel like that's where a lot of this stuff comes from.
Absolutely, I give a lot of my credit to Andy over there, who worked out with me this past offseason. He really got me in shape, and he told me what I needed to be eating. And my mom and my brother helped me out with being able to afford to come out here and do it. So it's paying off, man. The fruits are starting to ripen, which is awesome.
It's going to be fun. You have a fun year in the next 12 months, man. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Enjoy wherever you go after Modesto. I don't think you'll be coming back there. That's Art Warren. I'm Bobby DeMuro. Don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube, guys. Thanks for watching.